Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Chhavi Gupta, and today we will be talking about the strategy of getting from 90 to 99 percentile. I hope that all of you have been taking your mocks, and if you are around the range of somewhere around 90, then I think this session will be really helpful to you. We will just start in a few seconds. I would really want to ask you that whatever questions you have, feel free to post those in the comments and I will try and take them after around 30 minutes. So feel free to post any kind of personal questions that you have, what you should do where you are. Okay, so starting from my agenda of the day of the session would be that currently you are somewhere around 90 on an overall level. Now, this could happen probably due to lack of, lack of performing well in one particular section, or this could happen that you are consistently performing, around 85 to 90 percentile in all the three sections. So I will go section wise, telling you what you should do to improve your percentile now that it's just even less than 2 months left for the final exam. So, first things first, one, if you are doing a lot of mocks and you think you are consistently getting somewhere around 90 percentile, then it should be clear to you that what are the areas that you lack. I'm assuming you would know that if your verbal ability is weak, or your LRDI is weak, or your quantitative ability is weak. So that you should be aware of now. And I'm also considering that you might have given a significant number of mocks, that now you are somewhere on the range of 90 and you feel comfortable that in the final exam you will also you will get around 90 percentile. One more thing there, that if currently in your current coaching, if you're giving say tests with over 5,000 candidates, then I can say with a certain amount of confidence that in the final exam you will perform better than this. So if you are getting 90 and if you have the same performance as you are having right now, it is highly likely that you will at least get 90 to 93 percentile. So I think this should be a confidence booster for you. And okay, so now let's discuss what are the different strategies. So starting with VARC, people who are generally weak in this section, they either cannot, they are either not very comfortable at reading very fast. They tend to read the passage once, then come to the questions, then go back to the passage, which wastes a lot of time. Now, throughout this section, I will be talking throughout this session. I'll be talking about your speed, how you can increase your speed, and how you can increase your accuracy. So, for VARC, I will tell you what I used to do. I used to give around 40 minutes to the RC session and 20 minutes to the VA section. Now, VA includes only 10 questions, but because they are more difficult and they are, type in type, so that makes it a bit more tricky than you would imagine. So that I give them around 2 minutes per question. And for RC, the sets that I used to do, for 6 question set, I used to give around 10 minutes. And for a 3 question set, I used to give around 5 minutes. Now, these are not very strict. If a particular passage is too difficult, you will give it a bit more time. One more thing I had started doing in between, I mean, it is again your strategy, so you can try it in 2-3 mocks. If it works for you, then good. Otherwise, you can go back to your strategy. So one more thing I started doing in between was that when your this timer starts, I used to just glance through what is the topic of this particular RC. And there are around, I guess, 5 RCs. So you just go through what are the topics, and then whatever you feel better with, you first go ahead and read that. Because if your first passage is super difficult, then it will, one, eat up a lot of your time, and second, you will not feel confident, because suppose it is very difficult. Now, after spending 10 minutes in that particular set, out of 6 you have only done 3 questions, it will just lower your morale. So I would ask you to just go through whatever are the topics and then pick your own. One more thing, just be wary of the time. So if you think you can read very fast, then it's very good. So for a 6 question set, give around 4 to 5 minutes to read it up and then solve the questions. And again, for a 3 question set, just give around 3 minutes to read it up and then solve the questions. Now, this will generally happen if your reading speed is excellent. So, right now, what you should do is that while solving RCs, while practicing for RCs, indeed, if you're doing sectional tests or if you're doing just simple RCs separately, I would ask you to time your reading. Whatever the passage length, if it is a 6 question passage, try and read it in 5 minutes. Just, you should just push yourself now because you have to perform better. If you are at 90 percentile currently, it is that you are aware of all the basics and you are at a very good situation now. Now, to improve that, you will have to push yourself. So, I would ask you to just start reading a bit faster. If you start reading a bit faster currently, then it might take a while when you will be able to comprehend that as well. Because if you start reading very fast, you will not remember what you had read. But eventually it will come. So give it around 10 days. I would say that in 10 days, if you do two RCs per day, you will be able to reach that stage. So first, time your reading speed. Now, if you are reading very fast, then you can solve the questions pretty in the remaining time. Because if you can retain what you had read in that particular RC, then it would be easy for you to recall where it is in the passage. So whatever question is there, if it says in the in the second paragraph of the passage, this is written. So go to the second paragraph, just open it side by side. Do not read it again because you do not require it. Just read through the options, read through the whole question. If you can eliminate, say, out of 4 options, you can eliminate 2 very easily. Generally, this happens that in RC, with 4 options, you can eliminate around 2 options very easily. So once you have done that, in the remaining 2 options, if it is obvious to you, then well and good. But if it is not, you can just glance through the paragraph again, and that will help you a lot. So I think this is one strategy that you can use. Now, this strategy will work if the passage that you have got is easy to read. Now, what if the passage that you got is very difficult? You cannot understand one single word. Okay. So for these kind of passages, what is done? If, say, in 2 minutes, I am unable to get any kind of thing out of the passage, I am not able to understand what the author is even speaking about. So in these kind of passages, I just went through the passage once. I could not, even if I could not understand anything, then I used to go to the questions, and whatever direct questions are there, you just read up that. Whatever direct questions are there, you're 100% sure you attempt that. So this kind of passage is meant to trap you. What you will do is that you will invest a lot of time in understanding what this passage means. Okay, what is the inference? What is the author meaning to say? But it might happen that out of the 3 questions, 2 are simply straightforward. They are just written in the passage somewhere. So I would advise you that for some passage, I mean, this will not happen with all the passages. Just remember, it is a rare occurrence. Out of 6 passages, it might happen in one. So if it happens in one passage, what you will do is that just go through it quickly and then go to the questions. Do not read it 3-4 times again and again to understand what it means, because it might not be even required to understand what it exactly means. So these are the few strategies for RC. Then coming to VA, for VA, I have always said it was one of my weak points as well. And all I did was that of all the AIMCATs and mock tests that I had given, I just did all the questions that were incorrect again and again. I did them 3 times, and by the third time, I kind of understood what the author or what the question paper setter wants. So it is tricky. That is why I would ask you to give 2 minutes per question on an average. Again, if you are able to solve it, do not spend more time, but on an average, give 2 minutes. So 20 minutes for these 10 questions was my strategy. Now, some people have also asked, like, if we should do, VA first or RC first. So it is again, it depends on you. It is your strategy, and whatever you have practiced throughout different mocks, that might work very well for you. But for me, it used to work. I used to do RC first because I used to be very confident and my accuracy was good enough in RC, and hence I used to do RC first for the first 40 minutes and then VA. I would also suggest you to do the same, because in VA accuracy is pretty low and you can spend infinite amount of time in that section. So I would say that do RC first, where you will be pretty certain of all the questions that you have done, and once you are certain, then it will kind of help your confidence as well, and you will be able to perform in VA. Again, if you feel that out of 40 minutes you have spent 38 minutes and now you cannot start a new set, I would advise you to go to VA. Just solve all the questions. Whatever is difficult, leave that and do that remaining RC set that you had left. So these are the different kind of strategies and ordering that you can try in your mocks. But one very important thing, in the mocks that you will be giving from now, you need to say in the next 15 days, try 15 to 20 days, try and fix your strategy. Whatever you want to try, you can try. Say try for the two mocks, just try. If 40 minutes is for RC, 20 minutes is for BA, do that if you have not been doing that. And if it works well for you, then you fix that strategy, because it is not at all advisable that on the final day you go and switch your strategy. You are like, oh, till now I just did RC first, let's just do VA first. And many people do this, believe it or not. Some people think that, oh, RC just seems too long, let's just do VA first. You will not change your strategy on the final day. It is not going to be better than all the strategies that you have done through your mocks. And if you have practiced a lot, I would strongly suggest you not to do this, because this can hamper your final score. Just do what has been tried and tested for you, and that should work best for you. So okay, so now we are done with the VARC section. Coming to LRDI section. Now, if you are stuck in this section, say around 85 to 90 percentile, that means that it is not that you don't know how to do distribution or arrangement or circular arrangement or things like that. It means that maybe you are not very good in identifying what kind of set you should do. So in LRDI, it is not just solving the sets, it is also selecting the right sets. And because there are 8 sets, no one can actually solve those 8 sets in one in 1 hour, especially in an examination environment. Now, I would advise you that first just have a look of what kind of sets are there. If something has pie charts, etc., just read the initial small passage. Do not go through the questions. Just read that initial small passage. Have a look at what kind of data is given, and according to that, try and set an order by which you will do. So my kind of order used to be, I used to divide the sets in 3 parts: easy, medium, and difficult, according to what I think, only by reading that particular small paragraph and the data that is given. I did not used to read just had a look at what kind of data is given, if it is big tables or charts or whatever. Once I was done, I used to, yes, segment them into easy, medium, and difficult. And because I was more comfortable with LR, and many people are, so then I used to also mark that which is LR, which is DI. So I would do first easy LR, then easy DI, then medium LR, medium DI, and so on. So I would kind of have an order in which I'll be attempting the questions. So this I practiced in all the mock tests, especially in the last 3-4 months. So this actually helped me a lot, because it ensured that whatever sets I felt more comfortable with, it just made sure that I was not, just not being able to attempt them because of lack of time. And that can happen, because if you start with the first question, the very first question, what if that very first set is super difficult? And you will not only lose your time, you will again lose your confidence. If it is just, say, 30 minutes left and you have just done 2 questions, you will feel very panicky. And that kind of state is something that you should not have during your examination. So I would advise you of giving an order to the sets that are there. Then again, now once you are done with the ordering, again start with the first set that you want to. You will invest around 4 to 5 minutes in that set, trying to figure out what is going on. If you think that in 4 to 5 minutes you are unable to crack the set, you will kind of get a feeling. If you have been able to make a few inferences, and if you are somewhere close to getting the final solution, that is fine. But if you are not, if you think that I cannot even understand how to go about it, what should I do, what kind of, what should I multiply, what is the final answer, etc., then you will leave that set at that point. Now, last year, what we had in CAT exam, we had a kind of notepad. So I solved a bit of the set. If I am unable to do it, I would leave 2 pages and solve another set on the new page. So this is what you should do. If you are unable to crack it at all in 4-5 minutes, you leave that set. Whatever you have done, you keep it, and you leave a few pages, and then you start another set. So in case time permits you, you will come back, you will start from where you left, and it will not be like you wasted a lot of time, but you will have to leave it in 4-5 minutes. In LRDI, one of the biggest enemy can be that you if you do not let go of things, it will it will ensure that you are unable to give time to the sets that you could have solved. So this is one very strong advice, that try and leave sets at the time of around 4 to 5 minutes. That is very important, even if you think that it was one of the easiest sets. Then you go to the next set and so on. Again, one important thing, while you are solving a set, if you think you have solved the complete set, and out of the four questions you have been able to solve three. Now that last question requires you to change something in the starting and solve the whole thing again. Again, an advice: you will not do that. Do not do that. Only in the end, if you think that you have solved all the possible sets and only 2 minutes are left, you cannot start a new set now. You will come back to such questions and you will solve that question, because every question in CAT has equal marks. And if you invest 5 minutes in one question, you are definitely losing out on some set. You're losing out on some 3-4 questions, and that is something you should not do. So in LRDI, along with your technique, along with your knowledge, your time management skills and your planning skills are extremely important. So this is my strong advice. First order the questions, then let go of a set if you have been not able to solve it in 4-5 minutes, and then if a question is taking way too much time, just let it be. You can come back to it in the end. Now I'll give you my example of what happened in one mock test. So generally, I was able to solve around 6 to 7 sets very easily in the mock tests. In one such mock test, I just started with one set, and I was unable to solve it, and I felt it was way too easy. So I was trying and trying, and eventually I just solved 3 sets out of 8. And what happened was that because I was unable to solve one set, then I tried another set. I was unable to solve that as well. And this happened for 3-4 sets. So in the end, it was like around just 20 minutes are left, and I have done just 2 questions. And a kind of a panic sets in you, that what am I doing? Out of so many questions, I've just done 2 and only 20 minutes are left. I don't think I can actually solve the complete what I used to do. So that kind of panic, it is excellent if you get that in one of your mock tests. It is horrible if you get that in your final exam. And I would advise you to give different. That is why I keep on advising that you give mock tests of different coaching institutes, because you might become accustomed to one particular coaching institute. And what if someone is giving extremely difficult LRDI? And it is not that CAT cannot give you extremely difficult LRDI. They do. And so I would advise you to try mocks of different coaching centers, and hence that will bring out that panic in at least one of the mock tests, so that you know what it feels like if you have been unable to solve any question in a lot of time. So again, now this panic, if you feel it once, you will ensure that you do not feel it during your final exam. This is also one key learning. In LRDI, if you are unable to solve, you will just try and relax yourself and you will start a new set. So what happened with me in the final CAT exam was that in the initial 15 minutes, so I ordered the sets. I started with the first set. I was unable to solve it. I was getting no idea of how to start, how to go about it. So I spent 4-5 minutes there. I spent the first 4-5 minutes in ordering the questions, then 4-5 minutes in the first set, then 4-5 minutes in the second set, and I was unable to solve either. Now it is 15 minutes have gone out of 1 hour, and I have done 0 questions. I have cracked 0 sets. But I knew I had been through the panic, so I knew that no, I will be able to do it. I'm generally able to do it. So I just relaxed myself and then started the next set. And thankfully, the rest of the 6 sets I was able to solve completely. I solved around 23 questions out of 24 in the remaining 6 sets. So this is something, it is a key learning. And however much you might think that this is not important currently, it is a very important thing. Your state of mind is extremely important, especially in the LRDI section, which is the most, panic inducing section. So this is my advice to you. So this is the strategy that you should follow. Again, many people have asked that, where should we go for very difficult LRDI sets, etc. There are plenty of sets available all over the place, all on internet. But still, if you have to, I mean, if you think that you're done with almost all of your preparation, then in the end, I would strongly advise you to give both the CAT exam sets, the morning slot and the evening slot, and give them properly in a simulated environment. Give them like you are giving a mock test, the final exam. Sit on your table and chair and give it exactly like that without any distractions. And that might be, helpful to you of identifying how many you might get right. And it might be a good benchmark as well. So that is something you can do. Okay, so coming to the final section of quantitative ability. Now, in quantitative ability, it is, it's true that most of the people have a very good accuracy. They might not have good speed, but accuracy is generally above 85%, and that is what is desirable. In QA, if your accuracy should be at least above 85%, if not 90%. So this is also one thing that I used to take care of. I used to ensure that I am figuring out accuracy of different sections, etc. You can also do it or not do it. Just figure it out for 1-2 mocks, and you will understand what kind of accuracy you are getting. So in this, why is accuracy high? Because people invest a lot of time in the question, and then because it is obviously, the answer, either the answer will be there or it will not be there until unless it is a type of question. That is why accuracy is high, but speed is generally less. So there are two type of people. For me, it was like my speed was excellent, but my accuracy went around somewhere 75 to 80%, which is also very undesirable. So I'll talk about both type of people. So first, talking about people who have got good accuracy but low speed. So because now you know the strategy of solving questions, now you completely understand how a particular question needs to be solved, what kind of concept needs to be applied. So what you should do now is that while practicing, just give yourself 1.5 minutes per question. If you give yourself 1.5 minutes on an average, but just start with 1.5 minutes per question. So for each question, solve it in 1.5 minutes as much as you are able to. And then do this, just take 1 hour and solve all the questions that you are able to in that 1 hour. And giving 1.5 minutes, you will understand how many questions you are actually able to solve correctly within the given specified time limit. And then the questions that you were not able to do, try and give 2 minutes for that. So just push yourself into as less time as possible. By giving individual questions timer, what you are doing is that you are reducing the buffer time that we keep for ourselves. So for us, what we do is that when we start the first question, we are like, we have got 1 hour. But when we are on the 30th question, it's just half a minute is left. So you lose out on those 4 questions. Those 4 questions you have lost out because you kept a lot of buffer in your first 30 questions. And that is what is happening. So that is why you need to give a timer to every single question of yours. Just see what is the optimum time in which this question can be solved. Now, once you are done with a mock test, while reviewing the mock or analyzing the mock, what you can do is that just see how much time you invested in different questions. Because what used to happen with me was, generally I was able to solve around 29 to 30 questions in quant, if I'm doing it very well with proper accuracy. But towards the end, I used to realize that in those 4 questions, 2 I knew completely. And it is so stupid to leave those 2 questions because they were so simple. So these are the kind of things that you might realize. And that is why different people give different strategies. So I also tried this strategy of dividing my 1 hour into half hour. So half an hour, I'll do the first 17 questions. Even if I'm on the 15th question in half an hour, I will not do 16 and 17. I will directly go to 18. So this is one strategy to ensure that you're giving kind of equal time to both the halves of the paper. So this might work for you. It did not really work much for me because, I used to always come back because my speed was faster. So I used to always come back to the questions that I had left. Another thing that people do is that you can start. You just start by solving all the questions. Whatever question you are able to solve in 3-4 steps, that is within a minute, you solve them and you go to the next question. If you're unable to solve a question, you can just directly go to the next question. So in that way, what will happen that in around 35 to 40 minutes, you will be done with one round of your whole 34 questions. Then you go again to all the questions that you were not able to solve and solve them in the remaining 20 minutes. So now, because 20 minutes are remaining and you know that you have not done 15 questions, so you have at least one minute more for each question. This is also a good strategy to follow. This also I was unable to do because it was very difficult for me to leave a question midway after 1 minute. So if this works for you, well and good, this can also do. The whole point is that give all the 34 questions equal time, because any question can be very, very easy. So once you are done with your concepts, once you understand everything, make sure that you are solving all the questions. Now coming to people who have got good speed but low accuracy, which happened with me. So in my last month of preparation, I realized that my quantitative ability, accuracy was around 75%, which was very less for QA. So what I used to do is that what I did, I spoke to my mentor, and what he said was that when you have solved a question and you are going to mark the answer, just give yourself 5 seconds and check whether you have solved what they had asked for, whether they have asked for percentage and you are giving them something else, whether they have asked for profit and you are giving them revenue. So these kind of things, these kind of very small things in which you actually solve the whole question and you do it right, but you just mark the wrong option. And this happened with me a lot. So giving those 5 seconds extra to each question improved my accuracy from 75 to actually around 90 to 93 percentage. And that is an excellent accuracy to have. Anything above 90% is a very good accuracy if you are attempting at least 30 questions. That will ensure you that you get minimum of 98, 99 percentile in QA. So this is one very important thing. So whenever you are marking a question, if your accuracy is weak and your speed is good, that means you're solving the questions very, very quickly. And that might make you overlook what they are exactly asking. It might make you feel that you just copied some number incorrectly. That would be happening with a lot of you. So these kind of things you can check in those 5 to 10 seconds. Give 5 to 10 seconds extra. Solve 2 questions less, but solve all the questions that you are doing properly. So these are the two different type of questions, two different type of problems that people face in QA. Again, coming to questions which are very difficult. So questions which are very difficult, the strategy is similar to LRDI. If in 2 minutes, whatever kind of strategy you are following for QA, but if in 2 minutes you have not been able to solve that question, I would advise you that you leave it. QA generally is typically easy in the CAT exam. It is around. It is not very difficult because it has no calculus, nothing. So it will generally come very naturally. And if you know all the formulae, if you know everything, if you have practiced well, if in 2 minutes you are unable to solve a question, that means either the question is a trap question that they've just put it there so that you spend 10 minutes over there and you do not solve 5 other questions. Again, you need to go away from that trap, or it is just that you are unable to recall some kind of concept, which is also fine, but it is better that you leave that question. So again, this works over here as well for any kind of very difficult questions which you are unable to solve in 2 minutes. It's better to leave it. You can always come back to it in the end. Again, for whatever question or set or anything that you leave, or you say I'll see in the end, it is extremely advisable that the sheet of paper you are doing it on, you leave sufficient space around it, or you demarcate that question. Because what will happen sometimes is that because we are solving so many things, you'll just scribble all around your sheet. And then in the end, when you think, okay, so question number 3, I was going to come back again. Then you keep on searching in your sheet. Where is question number 3? Oh shit, here I've written something. Here I've written something. So this kind of thing will waste your time. If you properly plan on your rough sheet as well, that now that you get notepads in CAT, that is easier. You can just say question number 3 and the whole page you can leave it. So it is always better that whatever question you're going to come back to, you leave sufficient space so that you can utilize what you have solved in those 1 or 2 minutes, and you can work on it after that. You do not have to solve it again. So this is also one important thing. This is very trivial, but this will save a lot of your time and your effort again. Because if you cannot find that question 3 that you had solved a bit, you will be doing all those steps again which you had done during your first 1 2 minutes. So these are the overall strategies for going from 90 to 99. Okay, So now I'll just go ahead and answer a few of your questions that are there. Okay, so first question is from now onwards, how much cat marks should be targeted? Now this will depend on a few things. This will depend on how much amount of time you have. This will also depend on, I mean, how many mocks you have done by now. And okay, so if you have time of, so if you say if you're in college, you have time for solving one mock every day. I would not advise you to do that. But for now, what you can do is that try and give at least two mocks a week in the month of October. And then in November, later on, you can try and give mocks every alternate day. What is important is that because of the kind of time you have, you will be able to analyze those mocks properly. So what is important is not that you give a lot of mocks. What is important is that you analyze those mocks properly. So if you think you have got sufficient time of analyzing a mock and giving a mock, and then learning or reading upon topics which you think you lack in, then you can give a mock every other day. Every day I would not advise, because it will become overdose and you might just get fed up of them. But depending on the kind of time you have, from every day to twice per week, you can decide. But ensure that you analyze the mocks properly and you retain what you learned from that mock. Okay, then how to practice RC for better understanding. For better understanding, so in RC both the things are important. Your speed is important and your comprehension is important. For better understanding, you should definitely know basic understanding of English. You should know vocabulary. But by reading the passage, I mean, it will come only through practice. By reading the passage in, say, 3 minutes, reading a particular passage in 3 minutes, if you're able to retain a few things, that is well and good. Again, you try and read that passage in 3 minutes. So it will just increase your retention. You'll be able to understand more what the passage is saying. And if you practice this timed reading, your retention and your understanding both will increase in a few days only. I mean, it might take a bit longer than 10 days, but I would say that this strategy is worth it. You should give it your proper time. You should read 2, 3, 4 RCs in a day, and just try and give a lot of time to this, because this will help you a lot. This will not only reduce the amount of time you need, it will improve your comprehension speed. So words per minute in RC. I have no idea. I cannot give you a number because I have no idea. I mean, as I said that around for a 6 question set of for a 6 question passage, I used to read it in around 5 minutes. So I think you can just figure that out of approximately how many words are there. So I would ask you to just target around that. Not that it was the best that one can do. There are many people who can read faster than that, but that is somewhere around you can just set your target to be. Okay. Okay. Then there's a question of please tell me how to prepare for all LRDI quant and global. Okay, so this I have very well covered throughout the session. You can watch the session again, or you can go to my Quora page. Over there, I have given different for all the 3 sections. I have given answers for complete strategies that I have followed and the do's and don'ts of each section. So that should be of help for you. How to improve aptitude. Okay, so aptitude is something, I mean, it is kind of there that you have a very good mental aptitude, but also it can be built by doing a lot of logical reasoning questions that will kind of build your brain towards very good, excellent problem solving and good aptitude. I guess that is what is meant. Okay, then there's a question, ma'am, please tell in Hindi how to improve maths. Now, this is something that I will not do, because if you're giving CAT, you are supposed to know excellent English. However, if you do want that, you can go to my QA answers on Quora and you can translate them into Hindi in Google. But this is something, I mean, I don't know why you would want to do that, but I would advise you that you focus on your English if you think that this is required for you. Okay, then there's a question, which topic is more important in DI? So in DI, there was just one thing that I understood. I mean, there's no topic per se which is very important or something. And even now, because for CAT exam, in the LRDI section, earlier it used to demarcate. LR is separate, DI is separate. Then even if it did not used to demarcate, there were like a few LR sets, a few DI sets. Now, what happened in the last CAT exam was that LRDI was mixed. So one set has LR, it has a lot of numbers also. So it is not that you can very easily separate these two. So what you need to understand is that you need to know the concepts and the strategy to solve both LR and DI very well. And that, I guess, you will be able to do by solving a lot of questions. So there's no topic that per se is very important in DI. But one thing that I learned was that when I used to solve DI questions with, say, a lot of numbers, so if there are five digit numbers, so say there's a company, and then it has given salary of CXO manager, etc., and then it is asking you for for which percent did the percentage increase in salary is the highest. Now, what I used to do earlier was that I used to write the complete number, the 5 digit number, and try and figure out the exact percentage. Then I realized that even if I just use the first two digits and take zeros in the rest three digits, I will come to a pretty accurate number. So by doing that, it reduced my time by almost half, and it gave me a very accurate number. And if you think that there are two options which are very close, you can actually solve for the accurate number over there. You always have the calculator. So this is something that I learned in DI, which I think you should also utilize. Do not try and solve the exact accurate numbers until and unless it just asks you what is the growth rate of the CEO's salary. That you can do exact. But if it is asking you to compare, if you have to do 6 7 different you have to actually do 6 7 calculations for giving the final answer, then I would advise you that you should just do it approximately, and it will definitely give you a good answer. Okay. So next question is, in VARC, how to improve accuracy as I get more question wrong than right? I'm reading from diverse topic too. Okay, so it is not that everyone gets excellent accuracy. I'll tell you my stats. From around 10 questions of VA, the best I used to do on average was 6 questions right. I used to very easily get 4 right and 6 wrong, and it is completely fine to do that, to get that in VA, because I mean, in VA specifically, it is very difficult because you have type and type of questions, and the probability of getting it right is very difficult, is actually very less. So in VA, that is one thing. But even in RC, if your accuracy is very low, I would advise you that you reduce one passage that you solve. Just reduce a three question set and solve the remaining sets properly. Give them a bit more time, because first you will build your accuracy, and then only you can increase your speed. If you do not have accuracy, there's no use of a good speed. So even though you are reading diverse topics, I would advise you give more time to that RC, try and understand what the author is saying, and then answer the questions. For answering questions, I mean, there are different strategies that I have already discussed, and you can also find on Quora. But this first you need to improve your accuracy, and then only you should try and attempt all the questions. You can also get, it is not that you need to solve all the questions for getting 99 percentile. Let me be very frank. For someone who would leave a 3 question set, it is also possible to get 95 to 98 percentile very easily. So it is not that you need to solve everything, but you need to increase your accuracy. Otherwise, you might hang around 90 percentile only. Okay. Uh, okay. Then next question is, which institute you completed your CAT and where? So I took coaching from Time Jhandewala Center, and I was there in the weekend classes. We used to have classes for around 4 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. And yeah, I mean, that was the coaching institute I joined. But like again, I would say that I did not really use the material. I used what was there, what was taught in the class, and whatever was taught in the class, I used to sit and actually used to learn it very properly. And even though I did not get much time to revise it, towards the end, I started giving in some time where I used to solve the quantitative ability questions, which I felt were difficult in the class, and try and solve that again. So what happened because of that, I was able to revise all the topics, and I was able to recall what kind of tricks and strategies that we learned during our classes. Okay. Okay. Ma'am, please tell us which topic is more important in quant. So in quant, from the past years, you can figure out which topic has, more number of questions. In general, from what I remember, there are a lot of questions from numbers. There are a lot of questions from geometry. There are a few questions from numbers, and there are a lot of questions from percentage, profit, etc. So these are the few things that you should be well adept with. Just know your algebra well, know your geometry well. There are, these numbers can change every year, and it's not, even though it is not fixed, you can try and see that whatever has been the trend in the past few years, that you can get on any website. But again, I would say do not focus on very important topics. If you give the mock tests, they are also made in a way which reflect the actual CAT exam. So that will kind of help you. If you give a lot of mock tests, you will yourself realize which topics come a lot and which topics are less. So I think that should be helpful for you. Okay. Then there's a question of how to analyze mocks. Now, mock analysis, I would say that, even though I've covered it very well in one of the core answers, which I would advise you to read, but an analyzing mock requires around, I will just give a gist, it requires around 3 to 4 hours. I would advise you to do it within 1 or 2 days after giving the mock test. I would also say that, just try and retain that rough sheet you might have, so that you can actually correlate where you were stuck and what is the actual solution, what went wrong, where did it go wrong. And this would especially help you in LRDI, because in BARC we do not tend to write too much, but in LRDI this will be a very good help for you, because you will be able to identify what kind of inferences you were able to take out and what kind of inferences you were not, and then you can figure out why you were not able to do it, etc. So these are the basic necessities for mock analyzing. Then for me, what I used to do is that whatever questions were incorrect or I had not attempted, I would again put a timer and solve those questions on my own. If there are some questions, if there are many questions I'm able to solve now, it means that I have a lot of exam pressure or exam anxiety. That is why I'm unable to perform well. So you will be kind of able to understand whether your concepts are weak, whether you have a lot of exam anxiety, and based on that you can figure out your further strategy. I think you can read completely in the answer that I've given. Okay, so how to prepare for LRDI? So I have already given a lot of ways to prepare for LRDI. For LRDI, yes, you need some basic knowledge of solving, distribution, of arrangement, etc. But after that, there is no specific way of learning to solve these sets, because sets can come from anywhere. They can be extremely difficult. They can be, as I discussed, a mix of LR and DI. And hence, your only your best way to do it would be by doing a lot of different sets. And even for sets, like this was something that I did during my last few days, was that the sets which were difficult and very difficult in my coaching website, and whichever I got wrong, I tried and solved them again in around 10 minutes. And if you are able to solve those questions which you were earlier unable to solve, it will not only give you a confidence boost, it will ensure that you have actually learned from that mock test. And yeah, I think that is one thing that you should try and do. Okay. So then the next question is, if we don't get few questions, should we leave it or just guess it and tick it in the exam? Had it been a non-negative type of exam, I would have advised you to guess it, but it is not. So this is not a good thing to do, especially if you're unable to solve the question at all. So in the type of questions, you can definitely guess it, just write any number. But in the MCQ questions, which have negative marking, I would advise you to not guess it completely. But suppose that in an RC question you are there, and over there, out of the 4 options, you have already eliminated 2. Now in the remaining 2, you are extremely dicey, but you strongly think that maybe this option is correct. So it is okay to kind of guess it there, but do not guess out of the 4 options. You're not sure of anything and you just guess something. You will just be attracting negative penalty. So not a very good thing to do. Okay, then another question is, English is kind of a boring part. How to deal with it? Whatever it is, if it is boring for you, interesting for you, it is a part of CAT. So you need to put in equal amount of focus in that. Depending on how good you are in that, or wherever your performance lies, that amount of effort you will need to put if you want to get through CAT. And the point is that in the exam, you need to perform well in all the three sections. It is not that you can get 80 percentile in one section and get 99 in the other two and get an excellent college. That is not going to happen. Every college has a threshold of a minimum percentile of each section. And then again, if you get 80 percentile in one section, there are plenty of people who are getting 99 in all three. So you are just reducing your chances by thinking that it is boring and I'll not be actually preparing it. For daily preparation, what you can do is that fix 1 or 2 hours for English. I mean, it is just how you would deal with a boring subject. So just fix 1 or 2 hours for English, and then try and solve it. Incentivize yourself in some way that after if I study English for 2 complete hours, I will do this or that. So I mean, that ways you can incentivize yourself. Okay. So then again, another question is, I have hit a plateau in mock scores and not at all escalating. How to break it? So this kind of happened to me in the last month. So that is why all the different strategies of how to pull yourself from whatever plateau you are on to 99 percentile. And the different strategies that I have talked about during the session, that should be able to help you. If you relate with any of those, that should be a good help to you. And again, if there's something particular you want to talk about, you can ping me somewhere on Olivia or Cora. And I mean, that is the only thing you can do. You need to figure out whether your accuracy is low, whether your speed is low. And basis that, you can try and push yourself and, help yourself out of this plateau. Okay. Then can I get a call from IIM on 98 percentile? This I cannot say. I mean, this depends on your background score, your academic background, if you are an engineer or not, and many other things. So I think this is not something that I can comment on. And this is not something that you should be thinking, frankly. You should be focusing on your CAT percentile. Whether you get 98 or 99 might depend on how you perform on the final day. So I would advise you to focus on your preparation to actually perform the best that you can, and then you can later on worry about when the results are out whether I'll get a call or not. Another question, what will be minimum percentile to get an IIM call? Again, similar answer, different IIMs, different criteria, different kind of percentile requirement, depends on your academic background, your work experience, if you what you have done in your undergraduation, etc. Again, not something that you should worry about currently. I mean, this is something I strongly believe, that you should not be worrying about your IIM calls currently when you have not even given your CAT exam. What if you perform so well that you get a 99? What if you do not perform well and you get, say, an 85? So between those, I mean, it will make a lot of difference. So I would just advise you to focus on your exam and perform the best you can. Later on, let the colleges worry about who they'll call or not. Okay. So is solving time material a good enough preparation? So I did not really solve the time material, but I know a lot of people who did. And I think it gives a very good knowledge. Actually, not only time, I think every other coaching institute would be giving a good enough number of modules, and they would have some basic questions, some intermediate level questions, some advanced questions. So wherever you are, on basis your preparation, if you are somewhere around the intermediate level, I would advise you solve those intermediate and then go to the advanced. So this depends on, again, the kind of time you have. Because I was working, I did not have time to solve all the modules overall that time gave me, and I just solved a few handouts that were given. So I would say it would be good enough for your basics, for understanding the concepts. For in case you are stuck in some particular topic or concept, you can always go back and understand what are the basics of that concept, etc. But if it is good enough, it would, I mean, if you complement it along with mock test series, 1 or 2 mock test series, it should be good enough. Otherwise, if you in case you face a lot of issue with a few topics, you can always go online and check out how to solve a few questions. Okay, so for quant, is Arun Sharma sufficient? I've never actually solved it, but I've heard a lot that the book is very good for quantitative ability. And I guess, I mean, it should be good, but again, it depends on the kind of time you have. If you have all the time in the world to solve the complete book, it might be good enough because it will cover all the topics that are required. But if you do not, I would advise you to again just focus on what topics you can extract from mock tests. Try and understand those topics, build a formula sheet of your own of what formula you need to remember. In the end, it will be easier for you to revise as well. So again, I mean, all the preparation kind of depends on what kind of time you have, what kind of time you can invest in this. um yeah, so these are all the kind of questions. There was another question of I'm very bad at planning and I'm worried about the CAT exam. So as I have discussed in throughout the session, that for the exam you need to be very good with, I mean, planning, especially with the LRDI section. And I have already discussed this well, how you can do that. I've given a few strategies, so I would advise you to follow those strategies, and that might help you gain a lot in your percentile. And I think that should be correct. Okay. Another question is, I'm planning to solve all quant handouts given by time from now on. Will that be sufficient? And what's your opinion on sectional tests on different areas? Okay. So one thing I want to clarify, what is sufficient for different people are different things. What was sufficient for me, I just did the handouts and the classes and mock tests. And some people don't even require that. Some people just give 2 3 mock tests and they are finally ready for the exam and they get a 99 percentile. So it is like, what is sufficient for you will depend on where your current level lies. If you think that your basics are only not clear, then just by doing the handouts, you might just get more confused. You will get like, how are they able to solve all these questions? So it depends on your level. But if you think you have covered a very good amount of basics and you have got a good hang of all the concepts that are there, then yes, you can solve all the handouts that are given by time. That will cover all the different topics that are there in the exam. And yeah, that should kind of be sufficient for your revision. But again, I would not say that they consist of all the different difficulty levels of questions. What if some question is extremely difficult in the exam? It is possible that it might not be covered in those handouts, and hence it is not okay to say that it is completely sufficient. Again, going to sectional tests. Sectional tests, I would again advise you, try and give the 1 hour sectional tests that are there, especially on the time website. So that will not only cover all your topics, it will give you a real time, how you will be solving your final CAT exam. The 1 hour timer will be there, and you will be getting a practice of the actual section that will be there. So my opinion, although I did not do a lot of sectionals because there was not enough time, but I did 2 3 and I find them good enough. So I would say, if you have time, you should invest your time over there. Again, do not invest a lot of time in the sections you are good at. So suppose you are very good at quant and you just love solving these quant questions, and again you just keep on doing all the 24 sectional tests that are there. So that is something again you need to focus on while your preparation. So yeah, I guess. Okay, so any strategies for working people? So for working people, I understand that it is extremely difficult. Even for me, I started my preparation around March end, and during the first few months, I was unable to give any time on weekdays. So what I did was that starting around September, I used to wake up early and give around 1 hour in the morning to my general studies. I used to just revise my quantitative ability questions that were done in the class. So these are the different things that you can do. You will have to manage your time. Also on weekends, I know it sounds very bad, but even if you're working on the weekends, just you have to let go of all the fun that is there, of all the you really want to chill, etc. But you need to let go of that. I gave all my weekends to CAT, and this is one of the reasons why I joined coaching. Because had I not joined coaching, I would have just let go of the weekends. I like, okay, really need to relax and I deserve it. Because you do in the week, if you're working, then you would want to just relax in the end. However, I would advise you that you do not do that. You focus on your preparation now that it is less than 2 months left, and on the weekends, just invest as much time as you can. So this is the only strategy that I can do. for working people. And if you think towards the end you're unable to handle it, you can just take leave for a few days or few weeks, depending on how it works in your office. So that is one thing you might be able to do. Okay. Another question is that by this time, before 50 days from exam, what is the minimum ideal score that must be in this mock test? Will give a sense what I am. Okay, so I mean, this, what kind of score you require for 99 percentile, what kind of score I need to get calls from IIMs. These are the questions which are very exam dependent, exam specific. What if the exam is so easy, you need to get a minimum of say 240 out of 300 to get any call? What if the exam is so difficult that the highest score is 180? So these are the kind of things that will depend on the exam. That will also, I mean, it will be different for different mocks. I would say that you focus on your percentile in mock test, and if you are able to get around 98, 99 percentile, that would be a good enough indication towards what your final percentile would be. Again, you cannot say this percentile out of around just 200 people that I'm getting a 99 percentile. I would say at least 1000, 2000 people, if they're giving a mock, that might be a good, good indication of what kind of percentile you might get. Okay, and the formula sheets. Okay. Then there's another question. Do we need to revise quant formulas daily? No, you do not need to revise them daily, but you need to, I mean, it is advisable that you keep a formula sheet, your own formula sheet handy. So that will help you to go back, like any question, if you're unable to solve, you can go and check what kind of formula I could have applied during the mock test in this. And if there's some formula, you would tend to recall it and then hence remember it. But you do not need to revise it daily. You can just try and do it weekly. And for just the help of people, I did share my quantitative ability formula sheets on Quora, and I'm glad that was helpful to a few people. Okay. Then there's another question. I'm giving trial this year because I'm in third year, so not eligible. What should I do? So, how much you should prepare? I mean, obviously, you don't need to prepare much this year because nothing, the result does not matter. If you wish to prepare, you can just try. So, you can just try a strategy. So, what you can do is that just do a lot of mocks. Do 2 mocks per week and then try and give the exam. And then you will realize where you stand currently and how much preparation you require for the next year. So, that is something, if you want to, if you're willing to do that, that is something you can do. And I guess, yeah, that should help you there. Okay, so what about my mocks during preparation stage? So when I used to give mocks, I used to give mocks on weekends during the starting few months, and I used to analyze them on Monday or Tuesday whenever the result was out. And yeah, so this was the kind of thing that I used to do with my mocks. Towards the end, I used to give a lot of mocks. Like I used to give one mock in the week as well and one mock over the weekend. So this is something that you can try even while you're working. And I would advise you that you take a bit of leave towards the end. That would just help you. That would overall help you in preparing your mindset for the exam, etc. as well. And yeah, these were the kind of mocks. I gave around 35 to 40 mocks during my preparation. And yeah, that is kind of it. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful to you, and really glad that some things that I have shared are helpful. And you can always go through this session again or go on Quora. I have written a few questions. I have also written in a few blogs about how to prepare for the exam. And I hope that is helpful to you. And in case you have got some personal questions, etc., you can always post on Quora, or I'm also there on Olivia app. You can ask me personal questions over there, individual questions, and I'll be able to reply you over there. So all the best and good luck for your exam. And I hope it was helpful. Thanks.